Dude. It's funny though.
But yeah, and I'm trying to tell like the whole story. So it started out with just like what happened to CheerForce, and then I'm like, as I've done more and more, I've just like it's gotten longer and longer. So it's turned into like it always has been an infinity story, really.
Right.
And then so I'm trying, which is gonna give more context and make that put that day into
perspective.
Yeah.
For sure.
So what is your name?
Jennifer.
How do you spell it?
Jennifer.
What is your favorite color?
Ooh, red.
Why?
I don't know. It always has been ever since I was a little girl. I don't really have an.
It's one of those primary colors.
Just bold. I don't know. It's just a bold, loud color, and that's kind of me.
Where does happiness come from?
I feel like happiness, as I've gotten older, has changed. Happiness for me for a lot of years was more about materialistic things and possessions, and as I've gotten older, more about family. So for me, happiness is love.
What is the meaning of life?
Ooh, that's a deep one. And only Ian Richardson would ask me this question. I feel like the meaning of life is, it's crazy. It's like a journey for yourself to kind of discover who you are in so many ways. And I feel like there's been different parts of life for me. Like, I feel like there's been several lifetimes for me. Like, I can think back on certain aspects of my life and I can't believe that was my life.
Yeah, like your whole ego is kind of evolved out of another one.
Like, I remember it, but it feels almost like looking back on a past life. So life to me is a book. It's a book, and there's been so many chapters, and there's so many chapters that, I remember reading, but I don't remember the details. I don't remember the specifics. I don't remember the plots necessarily. I remember the feelings. I remember how I felt in moments. That's why, certain songs or certain smells or those kinds of things will make me remember details. But for the most part, my life is a series of chapters.
And change.
Yeah.
Where do you think you go when you die?
I absolutely, I was baptized Catholic, raised Catholic, big Portuguese family, so it's just Catholic, that's what you do. And I feel like I've always believed in an afterlife. I've always believed in heaven. I've always believed in, something, but I feel like until I had Braden, I wasn't always sure. And the second I had him and felt the most unconditional love that you could possibly feel, I knew there has to be something after this. It's inevitable. There's no way. We're not just beings that just walk and just exist. Like, the feelings that we have, that comes from something greater. And so I do believe that there is something out there. I just don't know what.
Have you ever thought about losing him?
When I was a year and a half before Braden was born, my nephew, who was he just celebrated his first birthday, so 13 months, he actually choked on a saltine cracker and died of asphyxiation. He was in the hospital on machines for a day and a half. We were all down there the entire time, and they took him off life support. We donated his organs. And in that moment, it's so crazy because I've always been a really strong person. And in that moment, I was the only person that could be in the room with my sister-in-law. I was in the room. I was there when she said goodbye to him. Like, nobody else could be in there, and I was the rock. And I felt so strong. I gave the eulogy at the funeral, everything. And then I found out I was pregnant 3.5 months after he passed away. And the second that he was born, I feel like I had total PTSD from what had happened. And in the moment when Jimmy had passed, I didn't cry. I was too busy worrying about taking care of everybody else. And so I never really grieved. I never really had that opportunity. And the moment Braden came into this world, it was like it put into perspective what my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law had gone through, and how I couldn't exist if it would have happened to me. I don't, and she has 4 beautiful kids, so she was strong for her kids, but Braden's all I have. He's my only baby. You know, I have Joyce, of course, who I love, but Braden's my baby. And so the moment that he was born, I went into total panic mode, and I honestly spent the first year of his life a basket case. I probably should have had therapy, honestly, because I couldn't do anything but obsess over what if something happens to him. When I would be at work, I would be sick to my stomach. Anytime I would go anywhere, I was worried about everything. And because my nephew passed away from such a random thing, I was paranoid all the time. Anytime Braden ate anything, anytime he was near water or standing next to a ledge or anything, I imagined the worst, and it would consume me. I would be driving to work and I would imagine these things that were going to happen to him, and I was convinced. Because I feel like I spent my whole life, you know, trying to have him. I mean, I went through 10 years of in vitro. I mean, I didn't have him until 3 weeks before my 40th birthday, so he was an absolute miracle. So I kept thinking, it's too good to be true. It's too good to be true. I waited too long. You know, I finally have him. He's going to get taken away. And so I would say probably not until he turned about 2. I kind of, and still, it's still there.
Yeah.
You know, it's still there. It probably will always be there. And I know every parent worries, but it's to the point now where I'm learning to appreciate every moment I have with him instead of worrying about what if.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty consuming.
Yeah.
It's intense.
Yeah, it's gotta be tough because, like, it's easy, like, especially like for me, because I have my family, but like, just like, I know, like, yeah, everyone's gonna die, so it's like, and I'm in a very simple spot to think that, you know, but it's like, I'm not a parent, so it's like, I don't know if I would still believe, like, be that detached, you know, because it is like just an extension of you. It is a piece of you that's... And
you no longer make decisions for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime anyone asks you anything, you have to think about how it affects him. Mm-hmm. And what do you do? You know, if somebody asks me to go somewhere or do something, my first reaction is, well, what does Braden have to be? Where does he have to go? What do I have to do? It's life altering. And honestly, it's funny because I was so that person because I've coached, you know, cheerleading since I was 18 years old. Mm-hmm. And I coached girls and I coached, you know, boys too, but growing up, I can't tell you how many times parents would say, well, you don't understand, you don't have a kid. And I would want to, it was the most insulting, infuriating thing to say to me for so many years. And then as soon as I had him, I was like, I get it. Mm-hmm. I get it. I didn't get it. Yeah. I didn't understand. You're right. And I was that self-righteous, I get it. I coach 1 million kids. I probably dealt with more kids than you, you know, and I had that anger in me for how dare you say that to me. Just because I don't have a kid doesn't mean that, but I get it. Mm-hmm. It's different. And I don't think that people who don't have kids, I don't think that means that they're not fulfilled with life. I mean, I had become at peace with it. It was my last in vitro attempt. It was one of those, okay, if this works, great. If it doesn't, I'm done. I wasn't meant to have them. I was meant to mentor kids, and I wasn't meant to have one of my own, and I'm going to be at peace with that. And I would have been okay. I would have been sad, but I would have been okay. I accepted it. But having him, it changed everything. Everything.
I don't know why. Where
it's all right.
But I just got lost in it. What is infinity? What is infinity to this gym?
Infinity to this gym is the heartbeat. I feel like infinity is the example of everything that being a part of a team stands for, everything that being a part of a program stands for. It's something that didn't happen overnight, as you know. Mm-hmm. It's something that took years and years. It's something that went through every trial and tribulation possible. And so to me, infinity is a perfect example of life. It's something that blood, sweat, and tears were poured into for years and years and years, and it's been the example of what to do when times are tough, of how you love your family regardless of anything. I mean, I think back to the very beginning. I mean, even back at the old SoCal gym the first year when we were, you know, opals and starting out, and you know, went to Vegas and ate it everywhere, and we're a freaking train wreck, and you know, and then year after year having that talent. And a lot of it was us as coaches and owners hadn't evolved to understand you don't just chuck stuff that you can't do consistently, you know, going out there and just trying things, and adrenaline will work, you'll hit out there, you know, years and years of going out there and probably being one of the best teams and not coming out on top because of failures from us making bad decisions. And so I feel like Infinity is growth. Infinity is, it's the heartbeat. That's the only really even word I can think of to describe it. It's the glue. Infinity started out as a lot of talented athletes that had aged out of a senior team. And that's kind of what it was. It was more to give the athletes an opportunity who couldn't cheer anymore, who still were passionate about it, who still loved it, who still cared about it and wanted to be involved in something great. And so it started out as an idea. It started out as a, you know, more of a solution to giving people an opportunity to cheer that couldn't cheer anymore. It didn't start out as a let's go and let's try to contend and let's try to win anything, honestly. So it started small, and it started out to where we started to see a glimpse of what could be, of, you know, this team could really be something. And little by little, the athletes that had grown up in our program that were super passionate about our gym and about our colors and what it meant to us, you know, even coming from, at the time, SoCal and then, you know, Mavericks. And it started out to where it was the people who truly cared so much and couldn't be on those teams anymore. And because they had so much passion, even though some of them weren't necessarily the most skilled, they started to just have some sort of a chemistry and started to have just kind of a drive that we hadn't seen in some of our younger athletes. And I think that had a lot to do with just maturity and kind of understanding that what the sport had meant to them. And so I would say about 2011 would probably be when I noticed a shift in the team. So it had been a couple years. We finished SoCal in 2008, and then we started over here in 2009. And I'd say it took about 3 years, and going into that fourth season, we started to see a change where the skill was really good, but the work ethic started to change, where people started coming in on their own time and started, you know, showing up all the time, and you weren't having people flake out on practices or coming and going. And I feel like it just kind of evolved on its own. I don't even feel like it was something that the coaches could even pinpoint. It was just something within that core group of athletes that had been with the program and or that were newer to the program that just kind of immediately latched on to that mentality. It started to change. And then little by little, it started to go from, okay, it wasn't just here's our senior team and here's our focus, whether it be co-ed black or Trinity or, you know, AP5 or whatever that senior team was. It started to evolve into, well, there's this great opportunity for this older team to be a dynasty on its own. And I think that that's when it started to change, and that's when it started to evolve. But the day that it evolved full-fledged was the day that we set foot on the floor in Dallas in 2014. That's the day that Infinity changed from a good team that some people knew about to a great team that everyone knew about.
Damn, that was crazy.
I'll never forget getting the score sheets and we all know Dallas is the longest ass hallway known to man, right? I remember running. And I don't run. I would get run if I was being chased with a knife, and that's about the extent of it. And I was running to get to you guys at the bottom of that escalator, right outside our team meet room. And I remember Anna and Andrew were in conversation with you guys, going over stuff, talking about performances, and I was just like standing there with the score sheet, like, okay, come on, wrap it up. Because I wanted to tell you guys so bad. And I will never forget that moment of everyone's reaction.
Go into that.
Yeah, it was incredible. Well, I had sent an email to Justin. We had gone. Do you remember when we had gone to Dallas that last year of SoCal?
Yeah.
And we did
got like
horrible.
18th or something.
Yeah, but then we got fourth at Worlds.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, Dallas is rigged. Oh, you have to have gone there for years and years. You have to be a somebody to do well in Dallas. So I remember sending Justin Carrier an email, and looking back, what an idiot. I can't believe I did it. Sorry, Justin, if you ever see it. I remember sending an email saying, we really want to come to Dallas. We really want to get our Worlds teams. You know, we feel like if you're going to contend as a Worlds team, you need to get out there in Dallas. And we want to go, but we're worried about going. And because we haven't been there, it affecting us negatively. Like us not having a chance, because who are we? We're just some random team from San Diego. And I remember Justin responding and said, the best teams are the best teams. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter how many years you've been here. You know, if you're good, you're good. End of story. And I said, okay, so we're going to come. And I remember after we won and then won grand champ, I remember Justin coming up to me and just laughing. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I pretend I never sent the email. You know, it was just so embarrassing. Like, not only did we come and win, but we were grand champs of the entire competition, the first time we'd ever brought the team. So clearly NCAA is not biased. So, but yeah, that moment was absolutely surreal. And Infinity up until then had a really big habit, again, partially because we kept putting them on the floor doing things that were too hard or that they weren't ready for, had a habit of going out there and choking under pressure. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of our MO. You know, we'd be great, but we would go out there and we'd fall apart. And Dallas was the first time that we got out there. We had little mistakes, of course, but we're great. Everybody was talking about us. And I remember going into finals and you guys walking out on that arena floor and me just thinking, please, God, please. Like, let this be the change. Let this be the moment, you know? Like, this is the definition of pressure. And let's be the team that can finally turn it around, you know? And I think I held my breath for that entire 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I don't think I even moved. Everyone else is jumping up and down, going crazy. And I remember I was just still, couldn't move, couldn't even, like, it was surreal. And when you guys hit the ending, it was just the most euphoric feeling. Like, it was incredible seeing your guys' reactions and just the moment knowing, okay, something just changed. Mm-hmm. It just changed and we're not looking back. It's amazing.
That was crazy.
It really was.
Okay. Oh my goodness. So how did you find out CheerForce passed?
So we were in the hall for Spirit Sports, and I believe we were getting ready to watch Frenzy. Was it Frenzy that was getting ready to go on? I feel like it was Frenzy.
I think I was done.
I think
everyone was done because I was in the coach's room too.
No. I mean, when we got the call that his car.
I was not aware of it until.
Okay. Then I think it was Frenzy because I feel like you guys were in the warm-up area. I don't know why it's just standing out to me that it was Frenzy, but I could be wrong. But anyways, we were sitting in the chairs right in front of the judges' risers, waiting for whatever our next team was to go on, and the Infinity Group went off, and we glanced on there and had saw that CheerForce had broken down and that he was trying to get somebody to come get him. And so I kept checking back on there, and Anna was in there kind of commenting, saying, is anyone able to go get him? And that's why I think it was Frenzy, because I remember Anna saying, like, I'm backstage, is there anybody that can help out, whatever. And then I remember Kaden jumping on there and saying, we'll call you, so I thought everything was fine. That was the end of it, to my knowledge. We got done for the day, went to go to Coach's hospitality, and we were in there, just sitting there waiting for score sheets. And it's so ironic too that the timing was all of us were in there waiting. Our coaches are all waiting. Usually we wait and talk, and I dismiss you guys, and so everybody's just kind of hanging out. And Anna got the phone call, and for the rest of my life, I'll never be able to walk into that room at Spirit Sports again, next to where they serve the waters and coffee. I'll never be able to stand there and not think of that moment, and it's embedded in my brain for the rest of my life. But I remember the look on Anna's face, the confusion more than anything, because as you know, she had already talked to CheerForce. He told her he was fine. He told her that he had hurt his hand, but that it was nothing serious, and so it was confusion more than anything. So when she, and I feel like your natural reaction when you get a phone call like that is to get up and pace and walk, because it's just, you're confused and you're just trying to take it all in. And so she instinctively got up and walked to the back of the room. And I think just because we all saw the panic in her face, we followed her. And walking over, I heard her say, what? I don't understand. He was fine. And I knew in that moment, and just because of it wasn't just wait, I don't understand. It was like a terror in her face. And I knew in that moment. And I needed her to confirm it. So I kept saying, Anna, please, what happened? And she looked up and said, he's gone. And in that moment, it made no sense. It made no sense because she had just talked to him. He had just told her he was fine. So in my mind, it's no, that something's wrong. You're not hearing it right. It's loud in here. Let's go out into the hallway. And she put her hand up and was silent for a very long time because she was obviously having it explained to her. And in that moment, Karen Wilson walked in, and it's so crazy because, in talking to Karen, we found out after the fact, Karen wasn't even supposed to be there. Karen was supposed to have left that morning, and something ended up happening, and she ended up staying. And it was seconds. She walked through the doors maybe 5 seconds after Anna had said he's gone. And she saw my face and came over and said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "We just lost an athlete." And she immediately, went into reaction mode. Her and Damien and Carrie Sellers and, obviously James and Shannon, they grabbed our entire staff and led us down the hallway to a private room. And that's when, the reality set in and the nightmare truly began.
Telling everybody.
Yeah. I've coached for 25 years. I've had some hard times. As you know, I was the coach of Wrath when we lost Jewel, and that was absolutely horrific. Having said that, all of my athletes knew prior to the first time that we walked in and we're all together. With KENROD, we were, less than a couple hours from the team having just taken the floor and getting ready to compete again the next day. And that reality of, how do I tell these kids? And knowing I'm the one that's got to tell them, it was the most just gut-wrenching, horrible feeling I've probably ever had in my life. And it's one thing to sit a group of people down and tell them, but I had to tell them one at a time because they didn't walk in all together. They walked in one at a time. They had already left and gone to their hotels, or some of them were inside watching the rest of the competition. And it was such an impersonal feeling to jump on the GroupMe and say, I need everybody to immediately meet us in this room right now, wherever you are, I need you to come back. Knowing that I couldn't tell the kids what happened on a GroupMe, obviously, but the necessity to get them back into that room immediately was so, so huge, and that was the only thing that I could think to do. And I felt horrible knowing that they're all panicking, and the thoughts are going through their head, coming back, not knowing, but it was the only thing that we could think to do. And so one at a time, it was like a little piece, a little more and more of me was just dying inside as I told another kid and another kid. And then watching that kid, and it's so crazy because in the face of tragedy like that, everyone responds differently. And when you tell a group of people in the moment, you don't see individual reactions. It's kind of just overwhelming because there's so many and they're comforting each other. But when you tell them one at a time and watch each reaction, it's something that it'll haunt me for the rest of my life. Knowing that I had to break each athlete's heart one at a time. It was like nothing I've ever experienced.
I've listened to that story so many times.
So many times.
And it just
doesn't matter how many times you listen to it.
This video's gonna be crazy.
I can't even imagine.
I'm moving to San Diego to cheerlead. I hit the road.
And I said, "What's going on, KENROD? I'm no warm-ups right now, Frenzy." And he sounded frantic, and he just said, "Anna was in a car accident." And I said, "Are you okay?"
It takes your biggest words
It's competition,
and make them small.
When you tell them one at a time and watch each reaction, watching both of them crying,
Conquers all.
it'll haunt me for the rest of my
Don't
life.
be sad, my sweet darling, 'cause love will conquer all.
From that day on, he was gonna be our one.
Love conquers takes our biggest worries and make them small. Yes, love conquers all. We'll meet again, my sweet darling, 'cause love conquers
They can't go back and change it.
all. I'll be home soon, my darling, 'cause love conquers all.
How can they go back and change a world title? It's not going to happen.